And it looks like we are live. Guys, give me just a few seconds here. We don't have Scott tonight, so I got to kind of get everything set up myself and get everybody, our wonderful Facebook groups, into the stream to join us this wonderful Friday evening. Looks like we've got some issues with the Twitter channel as well. So just a second. Yep, there we go. Mile high hello, everybody. Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me as per usual is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle senior NFL draft analyst, the one and only Erick Trickel, bebopping back and forth behind over there to my left-hand side. Are you still singing Gangnam Style in your head? Is that why you're bebopping over there, or what's going on, dude?
I just have pent-up energy and excitement for this weekend, and
yeah.
I am letting it out. I'm so excited for this game simply because I'll be there. So I hope whoever's in the chat, I will see you guys on Sunday if you guys go to the meet and greet. But I'm super excited for it. And so, yeah, I'm just bopping along, enjoying time. Have to leave here in about 3 hours to go to the airport and get on a plane and start my journey. That's 22-hour journey of airports and airplanes to get down to Denver this year. 22 hours.
Dude, I cannot express how much I do not want to do that, like at all. I it could not be me. I've flown one time in my life, and that was to fly to Nashville to go to the 2019 NFL draft. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but the airport hassles and stuff like that. I'm also from Wyoming, so everywhere you go, you pretty much have to drive because there's not an airport that can get you everywhere. So yeah, it's always like. You measure distance and how long it takes for you to drive there. Like for me to get back to where my folks live, it's 3.5 hours just to drive. So you got to understand, like to get there and back, you're talking a 7-hour day to drive there and back. So we typically try to do that.
I know that
over
that's
a weekend. Yeah. I mean, I know, you know,
it's where I'm at to Anchorage, like
yeah.
3.5 hours. Like,
yeah.
And where I was flying is a wonderful 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I can understand the necessity of wanting to fly and like how much like the convenience of it and everything, but the airport hassle, getting there on time, have plenty of time to do what you need to do, get checked in, and then your plane has a malfunction, you're delayed for 3 hours, and it just throws a wrench into the works and everything. So
that's where you guys, everybody down in the lower 40, has an advantage. If we want to drive down there, it's like a week. And we have to go through Canada. Nothing wrong against Canada. It's just going through customs and all that stuff, making sure you have a passport. So we're stuck flying. Hawaii too. So you guys have it easy. And I think it's funny that I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Carl. We were talking about how long it takes him to drive to Denver. And he was like 3 hours. And I'm like, it still amazes me that 3-hour drive and you're in a different state.
Yeah.
That is amazing to me.
So depending on which way I go, it takes me anywhere from 5 to 6 hours. So I can cut down, go through the middle of the state, cut across at the interstate. And there's a way for me to get there in about 5 hours. If I go through where my parents live, because I usually like to stop there and hang out with them for a little bit and then continue the trek from Wheatland to Denver is about 2.5 hours. So 3.5 hours plus the 2.5 to get there. It's a 6-hour drive, pretty much regardless of what you're doing. Anyways,
guys, on to Broncos football after we just spent 3.5 minutes talking about travel. Thank you guys for sitting through that.
Welcome in, guys, to Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast, where we're going to give everybody the traffic reports today going into Denver this week. No, for real though, Broncos 49ers up here on Sunday Night Football. Going to be a very intriguing matchup. Obviously, with Erick having to get out of town tonight kind of early, we're going to shut this down. Probably about half hour, 35 minutes, 45 max. Erick's setting a 45-minute max timeline here. So before we get into breaking down this 49ers game, guys, we have to give a big shout out to our presenting sponsor for tonight, which, of course, is MyBookie.com. Erick, what's up with MyBookie this week?
So Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, it's a show of young guns and the old guard. And nothing makes these matchups more exciting than having skin in the game at MyBookie. MyBookie has super contests, survivor pools, and a double deposit bonus that gives you everything you need to secure the bag. Getting started is simple. You just go to mybookie.com, sign up today, and use our promo code Wilson22, and you'll double your first deposit instantly. That's promo code Wilson22 to double your deposit up to $1,000 with MyBookie. This isn't your grandfather's bookie. This is MyBookie. Put your money where your mouth is and get rewarded for it. Begin your winning season today exclusively at MyBookie. And I don't know about you, Lance. But if you're gambling on a game, being able to double your money just by signing up just sounds like such a wonderful idea to me.
Yeah, it's always great to be able to catch those welcome bonuses and stuff like that. My bookie does a really good job matching that deposit, that first time deposit up to $1,000. So make sure you guys head on over there. Again, use that code Wilson22 to match that deposit up to $1,000 at mybookie.com. All right, guys, with that, say hello really fast. We got a bunch of people giving me some comments on my shirt. Hashtag Beartooth. Let's go. Love me some Beartooth. They were absolutely great. James Campbell in here.
There's a pizza joint. Or sorry, it's the Moose's Tooth. There's a pizza joint up in Anchorage that's like one of the best pizza joints in the country. But there's a Beartooth, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is actually a dinner theater where you can go watch a movie and have dinner while you're watching a movie.
There you go. Yeah. Beartooth.
So that's what I think of when I see your shirt.
Gotcha. Okay. Beartooth is a metalcore band, Eric. I'm not sure if they have
way over my head. As soon as you said metalcore, like that's it with me.
What's going on, guys? Gotta say hello to everybody in the chat. Chase Wellner, C Chang jumping in, Diamond Rattler. What's going on, guys? Mr. Greasy J, new name, is saying that he's got us losing by a touchdown or two. Just being realistic, and I'm not too far behind you on that one. First, no fear in the house again as well. Jeff Noyes, Heath Holmes, Savage Boy Kev over on Twitch. Got to give a quick shout out to Kev. Talking about how we were right about Randy Gregory. He got a sack last week. And yes, I did predict that Randy Gregory was going to get a sack. James Campbell jumping in saying, does Wyoming really exist, or is it a government conspiracy? It's a government conspiracy. Don't come here. You're like, if you ever get caught in Wyoming, you know that you've got caught by the government.
The 13 people that live in Wyoming will hate you instantly,
including me. No, I'm just playing. Garth Knight, quickly, $5 super chat to open the show here. A 22-hour trip. Man, the Broncos better win on Sunday Night Football. Let's ride. Thank you, Garth, for jumping in early with the super chat. Guys, bring your super chats in quickly and rapidly. We'll get to as many comments as we possibly can, especially everybody's super chats, stars, donations on Facebook and stuff like that. We're going to kind of fly through this, though, because we got a lot to break down, and we got about 25 minutes to really get it done. So, Eric, I got an opportunity to take a look at the San Francisco versus Seattle game. Earlier today, it was really underwhelming from the Seattle side of things. The 27-7, I believe, was the final score of that game. And Seattle only got a touchdown because they blocked a field goal and returned it for a touchdown. San Francisco dominated that game, both in both sides of the trenches, specifically the offensive line. I thought they did a really good job with that Kyle Shanahan, that West Coast outside zone, inside zone scheme that they run. This is a problem to me. I think that this Broncos team is really going to have some struggles up front with the 49ers offensive line. And Eric, I know you have your article up at milehighhuddle.com, the Broncos and the critical matchups they need to win. I want you to break down this running game from San Francisco really fast and really kind of highlight why this is such a critical matchup for the Broncos to win.
Well, I mean, the offense of the 49ers runs through their running game, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter. They don't have that passing prowess that they potentially would have had with Trey Lance, even though there was a lot of kinks that he was still working out as a young quarterback. The running game makes everything flow, and they have some really good run blockers on that unit. Their interior offensive line is a weak point, though, but they're not like a terrible weak point. They're just not quite as good as their tackles. They're young. They're starting a second-year player at left guard. They're starting a rookie, and I can't remember what the experience level is on their center, but I don't think it's very much. Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams are great at it. Trent Williams is probably the best run-blocking offensive tackle in the NFL, but he's been struggling a little bit in pass protection. I mean, he's widely considered one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL, period. It makes everything go, and it's very simple. It's just make your read, so you spread things out, you read the hole, and you just go. And that is going to be difficult because Denver they do well flowing laterally, but sometimes they can leave the back end unsecured. And it doesn't help that one of their defensive linemen has really struggled against the run in Deshaun Williams, who has looked terrible out there. I mean, let's be honest. He has consistently been the worst defender on the Broncos, and that includes Alex Singleton, who has been bad as well. Deshaun Williams, at least Alex Singleton has made some plays in coverage and some plays against the run. Deshaun Williams, he had a chance for 2 or 3 against the Houston Texans, missed tackles on all of them. Like, he just consistently fails, which sucks because last year he showed a lot of potential to be more. just not showing it on it. So it is a battle that they have to win. And it's going to take a lot of discipline on the back end, but also on the front end from the edges.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, especially on Deshaun Williams, because I was talking to you in our private chat the other day, just you and me kind of breaking down the game a little bit. And I pointed out on the opposite side of the ball, when the Broncos are on offense, Lloyd Cushenberry and the issues that he has right now in the running game. Like, everybody on the Broncos offensive line is moving forward. They're getting good push from the guards and tackles out. Lloyd Cushenberry is constantly 1.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but when those running plays get started, Deshaun Williams on this Broncos defensive line is the exact same way. He is getting pushed off the ball. He's getting turned. He's getting twisted. There's a couple of times where you see him kind of use that length that he has and kind of get free, but he's not making the play in the hole on the backside of that, which is what Erick's kind of talking about here. That also combined with Alex Singleton picking the wrong gaps in his run assignments, and he's not doing a great job in his run fits, is creating a lot of wide open cutback lanes. We saw that a lot with Dameon Pierce against the Houston Texans this last week. We saw that with the Seattle Seahawks as well, with Rashad Penny in week 1. There's issues up front with this Broncos defensive line, and they revolve specifically around those two players. Now, we've got some really good injury news with – go ahead, Erick.
Real quick, we are going to dive more into this. I have my article up about the matchups on it. We're going to pull that up here in a little bit. I do want to clear up chat a little bit. We have some guys from Facebook. Clayton Heron says, good evening, guys. Smash that like button and share. Let's ride Broncos country. This is the game that we really turn it around. Defense does great, and offense going to be on fire. Definitely hope so. I'll be there, so it definitely means that Denver will win. They'll keep that 100% win rate while I'm in attendance, so that's good. That's a positive there. That's exactly why Denver will win. Michael Ronquillo, good evening, Lance, Eric, and the Dove Valley Divers, Bronco Country. Let's ride. Michael Ronquillo again. Good evening, Broncos Country. Let's ride. Greg Smith saying a win on Sunday would be such a relief. And Travis Weber coming in. Good evening, Lance, Eric, and Scott. Unfortunately, Scott's not with us tonight. Some soccer tryouts, I believe he said, for one of his kids. And Broncos Country. Been dealing with some stuff still. Hope everyone is well. Go Broncos. Travis, we both hope that Lance and I both hope that everything's going well with you. Yeah, and if you ever need just a ear to ear, like, we're always there. Facebook, Twitter, we're always open for it. So going into this to this article, the first step of it is Russell Wilson versus not just the defense, like all the defense, but also D'Amico Ryans and the 49ers, like the play calling and everything. So what are your thoughts there? So
the big thing that really stuck out to me with this 49ers defense, and I didn't get a chance to take a look at the all-22, so you're going to probably have to correct me on this. They play a lot of combination coverages. They play a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. They twist some stuff around, a lot of rotational stuff. They have 2 really decent cornerbacks on the outside. Charvarius Ward, it's a guy that Broncos country should be relatively familiar with. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs for a couple of years. A solid guy, not a great guy, but still a guy that you really want to have out there on the field. He creates a lot of opportunities driving on the football. So that's a big player to watch. Emmanuel Mosley as well. Like, they both do a really good job of getting their hands on the football. So to me, that's the biggest thing to watch is the combination coverages. D'Amico Ryans also doesn't necessarily like to blitz a lot, but when he does blitz, he brings everybody. It's not like just a 5-man pressure. It's like 7 guys and they just overload the holy hell out of the offensive line. They create a lot of pressures that way. But when they're not blitzing, those front 4, especially Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, the other guy, his name is escaping me at this particular point. I have the
Javon Kinlaw.
Yes, Javon Kinlaw. That's the one. Those guys do such a tremendous job of creating a consistent pass rush, especially with Nick Bosa. Obviously, he's one of the top edge defenders in this game. They do such a great job up front of winning with only 4, not only in the passing game, but in the running game as well. This defense is very complex. They do a lot of really creative things to try to keep the quarterback guessing and keep him on his toes. And with the consistency issues we've seen with Russell Wilson, with his base mechanics, his reads aren't quite there all the way. It's almost like he's like a half a second late every time he wants to throw the football. This matchup does not bode very well for where this Broncos offense is currently at.
Yeah, one of the big concerns with Russell Wilson that has been there for a while is how long he holds onto the ball.
Yes.
Like, even if pressure is not coming, or even when pressure is coming, he still likes to hold onto the ball. And while everybody pointed to the offensive line being the biggest reason for all those sacks, they played a huge part of it. Don't get me wrong, but Wilson was consistently in the top 5 for pressures brought on by himself, which takes into consideration how long he's holding the ball. So against his 49ers defense, that is very much a concern. However, one thing that is going good for, or that does stand positive for the Broncos and Russell Wilson, he's 17-4 all time, including playoffs, and 16-4 in the regular season against them. He is 8-2 before Kyle Shanahan arrived, and 8-2 since in the regular season. And he has won. Russell Wilson has won 5 of the last 6. And while his games haven't been outstanding statistically, they have been very solid. And the defense hasn't changed a whole lot over the years under Kyle Shanahan. So he knows what he's going to be facing. So the question is with all the issues they have, is this a game that Russell Wilson can finally step up? And I know a lot of people point to the Seattle game statistically as a great game. When you actually break down the tape, it wasn't a bad game for Russell Wilson, but it wasn't great either. It was a very solid game when you break it down. Is this a game that he really bounces back on, do you think?
I don't necessarily think that it's going to be a vertical passing attack, though. Like, I really like what this San Francisco secondary has on the back end. First things first, I'm a huge Tashawn Gibson fan. Have always been. He's a Wyoming guy. Like this guy is a tremendous player. He does really good job, and he can play single high. He can play the deep half. He gets his hands on a lot of footballs. I think he has like 22 career interceptions or something like that. Like, that guy is just tremendous. And they brought him in late. Like, he was a guy they brought in. I believe he was a street free agent. They put him on the practice squad, promoted him to the starting roster, and kind of just did a little sneak around to keep his cap hit low. But the other guy that they have, Talanoa Hufanga, I believe is how you say his name. That guy is he's a ball of fire. Like, he is everywhere. He does such a great job in the running game. He does a great job in pass coverage. He just is always around the football, and he's always making these gigantic splash plays. In fact, if you look at now Pro Football Focus, let's take this with a grain of salt. But they have him rated as the number 1 safety in the NFL through the first 2 games this season on an overall level. And I think he's the number 2 safety in coverage this season. So they're not going to win. They're not going to win throwing the deep ball. I don't think that's not just. They're not going to do that this week. What I do think you're going to see, though, is kind of a reversion back to that screen game, that opposite side screen game that you saw to slow down this pass rush with Russell Wilson dumping the ball off to Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon out in the flats. That, I think, is where you can actually take advantage of the San Francisco defense because they are so aggressive up front. Let that pass rush get upfield, dump the ball back up over the top of them, and then let Javonte Williams go and try to make plays against Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. I do got to grab this really fast, Eric, before we got Jay jumping in here with the $5 super chat. I wanted to just give a quick shout out here. Should the Broncos just start Cam Fleming the rest of the season? I mean, when was the last time that we've had an elite run blocking right tackle? It was also okay in pass pro. So, Eric, I'll let you dive into that first and then go into the secondary. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we'll get your question more as we here in a second as we switch over to pass protection. First, the Niners pass rushers. For me, I'm avoiding the middle of the field. I'm not threatening Azeez Al-Shaair. I'm not threatening Fred Warner. Like, those two are two of the Azeez Al-Shaair has been excellent in coverage. Like, I would not be attacking them. Attack the outside, attack the boundary. Their corners, they're not great. They're not terrible. They're fine. Attack them. And if Samuel Womack, if they go with the nickel, put a nickel corner out there, attack him.
Yes.
He's a rookie, and he's had some lapses in coverage that you can move the ball against. You keep doing that, and eventually they'll start pulling Hufanga up a little bit because the way they use him in coverage, when they go to cover 3, he drops down kind of as that dime linebacker. Attack that opening. Tashawn Gibson, he's still good. He has lost his step. He's not as quick or as fast as he was in coverage, and that's where you can open up your ability to take deep shots. But you got to really work the sideline, the outside of the hash marks a little bit, which plays into what Russell Wilson likes to do.
Yes.
Now, as for the question, simple answer, no. Cameron Fleming has done well through 2 games. I mean, he's allowed 5 pressures, I think, but it's who they have come against. Jonathan Greenard and Ogbonnia Okonkwo have done decently against him in pass protection. And then Darrell Taylor and Uchenna Nwosu, who aren't great pass rushers, they're fine. Now you have him potentially going against Nick Bosa. You have Max Crosby coming up. You have Kwity Paye coming up as well. Like, I'm not trust in him when the step up and the edge rushes come in. I don't think Billy Turner is as great as he's been made out to be, but I think you can trust him a little bit more and still keep up a strong running game going. I do fully expect Billy Turner to be the starter in this game, though, at right tackle.
That's interesting. And that was the one thing I was going to say. Do you think it's going to be Billy Turner in this game, or are we going to see Cam Fleming again? I think you might see Fleming early and they kind of work Turner in. That's just a quick opinion on it, but I want to see Billy Turner. I really do. I want to see what he looks like coming back in this scheme. He knows the scheme. He is a fairly decent player at the tackle position, but I just don't know about that knee. And I want to see him in limited action first before we just throw him out there to the Wolves, especially when you got this guy on the screen here, Nick Bosa.
That's exactly why you put him out there. You can't trust Cameron Fleming against him. And I think they've been working with the idea that if Billy Turner wasn't, I don't want to say if he wasn't good to go, I firmly believe he could have played last week. They were just wanted to give him an extra week of rest for this game. Right. So that is why I think that he is a starter and why you want him out there. Yep. But the rest of the offensive line, Phil McLaughlin comes in. Good evening, Lance and Eric. Safe trip. Thank you. I hope it's a safe trip as well, obviously. Not excited for how long it's going to be, but I'm excited for it. Now, switching over to the rest of the offensive line, for me, it's obviously the interior. Eric Armstead is questionable for it, and he's a pretty good interior pass rusher. If he plays, I'm not feeling overly confident with Dalton Reisner or Lloyd Cushenberry. Lloyd Cushenberry, he's graded out well by Pro Football Focus, but here's one of the flaws with them. They don't take into consideration how often he isn't in a one-on-one situation. So he's getting a lot of help in his pass blocking, and that's why he's able to look as good as he does. But there is no communication there. I don't trust him. Javon Kinlaw should be able to take advantage of it. I have concerns about the interior pressure, which is where my concerns with Russell Wilson and how much he has left in his legs comes in, because he's just not able to buy extra time when pressure does come like he used to.
No, I'm right there with you on that. And the one saving grace, and I need to go back and rewatch the tape a little bit and do some more study on this. So again, guys, I do apologize. I didn't get as much time as I wanted to on this game. But the one thing that you do notice with this San Francisco 49ers defensive front is they play a true it's I guess not true 4-3, but it is an even front, 4 down defensive linemen, and they are all typically spread for the most part. I think they do a 3, a 4-eye, and then a couple of like 7 technique defensive ends. They're not typically lining up with a true nose tackle over the center, and I think that the Broncos can actually use that a little bit to their advantage this week. Because with Lloyd Cushenberry, he does better with where he can extend and reach out and kind of go and attack as a double team, more so than he does with a guy directly in his face. So I think that the Broncos actually have an advantage there just based on the defensive alignment. Now, where that does come into play, where the 49ers can take advantage of that, is with Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Azeez Al-Shahir. Those guys do such a great job of pressuring the A gap and making the center make a decision in the running game. And with Cushenberry getting literally his ass handed to him every single time he steps out there on the field, it's been bad. So there's some give and take here. I think that the Broncos can win up front a little bit with the even front, but they got to really pay attention to those blitzers. Michael Ronquillo jumping in here. Nathaniel Hackett just needs to be himself and have fun with being the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Mile high salute to Broncos country. Let's ride. Michael Ronquillo, this is a very astute point. I 100% am with you on this. And I'm going to bring up a conversation that I heard listening to the Draft Dude podcast earlier today. There's a coach that had a quote, and I don't remember the quote itself, and Kyle Krabs is the one that read it. Go check this out. But the quote is 80% of your offense's yards come from 20% of your playbook. So think about that again. 80% of your offense's yards over the season come from 20% of your playbook. You have 20% of your playbook. That's like the core unit of what you're trying to do with your scheme. So with the cute stuff, the gun runs inside the red zone, the handoff to Andrew Beck with the option off the tail side of that on a 3rd and 2 play, the double pass that they tried to run against the Houston Texans. There's a couple of different examples of where this offense is trying to be a little bit too cute. Like Nathaniel Hackett's trying to outsmart himself. get back to that base. Find your identity. Find that 20% of your offensive playbook and work that stuff. Get elite at that stuff. And that's where this San Francisco offense is so fun to watch because they understand they're going to run gun right Navajo 19 handoff. Like they're going to run outside zone with a 19 handoff or a 19 pitch, and they're going to run outside zone. That's what they're going to do. And that's where 80% of their offensive yards comes from, is those 20% of the plays. That's such an astute point, and I don't think that you necessarily I guess I can't say that. Like, it's a great point. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But the extra context behind that makes it so unique to talk about that nobody, I think, is really paying attention to.
And Jeff Noyes says, should use Beck in the fullback role. That's all they use him in. That's all he does. That's the only time he sees the field is for those 10 times they use the fullback in a game. And that is totally worth the roster spot, you know?
Yeah.
That's still one thing that doesn't sit well with me. And Cody W with the $5 donation says, pass the running backs need to be in the playbook. It looked good versus Seahawks, but Russ doesn't like the check down. Had no problem getting down the field in the first game. The thing is like they're very obviously still trying to figure out, put it all together. Russell Wilson, basically against the Houston Texans, it was the Cortland Sutton and Javonte Williams show in the passing game. Mm-hmm. And against the Seahawks, it was the Cortland Sutton and the Javonte Williams game. The rest of the Jerry Jeudy had that one big catch touchdown that should have been intercepted, but that's whatever. Fortunately, it worked out for Denver. Didn't win though. But yeah, it is, and he just needs to be more willing to take it when it's there. And this is where I don't want to say he's slow through his reads, but this is where his over patience with his reads does hurt, is because Russell Wilson will see the check down and then he'll go back through his reads of the receiver before he comes back to it. And that could really hurt the taking what the defense gives you. And that is something that Russell Wilson has always struggled with. He doesn't like to take just what the defense gives you and tries to force things, and that leads to issues for it. And that's something that he has to get better at. Ernie May says, hello, men, go Broncos.
What's up, Ernie? We got Andrew Baker jumping in here as well. What's up, Valley boys and family? This week is big for coaching. We should be done with the growing pains by now, and even with all of the injuries. I want to push back on that just quickly.
Okay.
The growing pains are still going to happen. I'm not going to try to do the hot takery here of the not playing your starters, but I am going to kind of touch on that just a little bit. They did these slower pace practices, the not playing the starters and stuff like that. There's some communication issues and stuff like that that's going on. The timing issues are huge. That's not going to just fix itself overnight. Go back to 2012 with John Fox led Broncos, Peyton Manning coming into town. That team started off 2-3 and it looked dysfunctional. Peyton Manning, I believe, threw a 3-interception game against the Atlanta Falcons and lost a close game there. It took some time for them, like 6 weeks. I believe they're 2-3 going into the San Diego Chargers game. We all know the Brandon Stokely iconic catch. I don't think that this week is that week where you're going to see that just come out. We've got a first-time head coach, a brand new quarterback in a new system with a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator, first-time special teams. There's so much new here.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some gelling that needs to happen here. So I do think that this is going to be another game where we see some more of those struggles, though not as much. We're going to start seeing this thing kind of turn around and get to where it needs to be, but I'm not predicting this team to turn around and go out against a team the quality of the San Francisco 49ers and go and have all these issues just fixed like that overnight.
And as we switch up to talk about the Broncos running game versus the 49ers run defense, I want to grab this comment from Keep It Real Denver. Cush is not the problem. Glasgow is who we got to fear for. In the run game, that is 100% not true. And it's not that Glasgow's playing great. He's been rough around the edges. He's done a pretty good job in pass protection. Run game has been iffy, but Cushenberry is consistently in the backfield. He is consistently getting beat by his man who are touching the running backs behind the line of scrimmage. Glasgow is struggling to get push, but he's not getting beat right away. He's just struggling to generate push. And that is easier for a running back to overcome. And that is what Glasgow is he hasn't ever really been great at generating drive, but he uses positioning and the defensive lineman's momentum to help open a lane for the running back. But when you are sitting there trying to get push and you're getting driven back, there's little that the running back can do, because then you have to immediately change what you're doing after you get the ball in your hand, which just buys more time for the defense to get behind it. Cush is 100% the problem with the running game. Fortunately, though, the running backs have done enough to overcome it 2 games so far. But the times that they are having issues, it has been consistently been that, with the exception of Javonte Williams' fumble, where Glasgow and Garrett Bowles both pass set because they did not hear the audible call in a play that everyone had confusion going on, and the coaching staff should have called the timeout on. Again, Glasgow hasn't been great, but Cushenberry is the big problem when it comes to the running game. And that is something that the Broncos can't afford against this. Fortunately, losing DJ Jones, the 49ers have struggled replacing that impact against the run game.
Yep.
And Javon Kinlaw and Eric Armstead have struggled against it.
Yes.
But you still have Fred Warner, who does such a great job reading it, and Drake Greenlaw, who does such a good read, and Talona, and then Hafanga, who just is one of the best already seems like one of the best safeties when coming down and filling in against the run. Those are the guys you have to work on. You have to be able to get to the second level. Cushenberry is 100% unable to get off his blocks consistently, and it just hurts the running game, and it's the big concern of this one. Can Cushenberry get off his initial block and get that second one? And we haven't seen it yet. This is the start of his third year, and he's always had this issue against it, and we were just fed with a spoon that Cushenberry improved so much, and it just isn't true. Cushenberry is still a problem for it, and if this Broncos running game struggles, I would bet a lot that it's primarily Cushenberry's fault.
Yeah. Going to grab this comment from DeAndre Weatherspoon. I'm going to bounce off of that really fast because this is a new name joining us on Facebook, and not sure if we got stars attached to this. So I want to give DeAndre a quick shout out here. The Broncos need to keep it simple, and fans need to be patient, knowing that everything is new and needing time to gel and mesh. And thank you, DeAndre, for that. I am in 100% agreement with you on that. This run defense for the San Francisco 49ers, so you kind of tapped on it just a little bit. The loss of DJ Jones was huge for this team because DJ Jones, we see him here in Denver, has been a revelation. Like, he is easily one of the best free agent pickups of this class, if not the best pickup we've seen, and if not over the last couple of years, best free agent pickup we've seen from this Broncos team. And it points to what you just said. Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw have been getting pushed around. We're talking about a bad interior offensive line from the Seattle Seahawks that were consistently generating push along the interior of that San Francisco defensive front. Now, where it worked was because Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw do such a great job in their run fits, and they understand those assignments. But I do think inside zone running, where you can try to get Dalton Reisner out to the second level, where you can kind of try to get Lloyd Cushenberry, and we know that he does a relatively okay job of digging out linebackers at the second level. That's where you got to attack this, though. You've got to get things moving sideways. You've got to get a guy out there to pick off one of those those linebackers, and hopefully Javonte Williams can have some better vision, and Melvin Gordon can have some better vision. Find those cutback lanes, because you can gash this San Francisco 49ers defense in the running game. It's definitely possible, and I like this Broncos offensive line of being able to do that. Now, pivot here.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I'll keep it real. Y'all definitely seen something different. I watched the same replays. All 22, man. Like,
yep.
Turn it on, and you can see Cushenberry consistently in the backfield, consistently making mistakes. And it's been such an issue with them that Dalton Reisner or Graham Glasgow have to consistently give him issue. They are shifting their responsibility at direction of the coaching staff to help Cushenberry not be as terrible. Like, it's just the way it is. And it's why everywhere is just consistently pointing to Lloyd Cushenberry being a weak spot on it.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the worst centers in the NFL already this year, and it's because of what he's doing in the run game, and because of how little, I should say, he has a one-on-one block in pass coverage. And Hackett needs to do keep it simple, coming from Andrew Baker. Yeah, he does. Lance can attest to this. During the game, I was not happy with how much trickery they threw out there against the Houston Texans of all teams. Like, now when you really, need those plays against teams, you've shown your hand. Like, teams can be expecting it about it. But moving on, Jimmy Garoppolo versus the Broncos defense. We've seen the Broncos defense struggle a little bit with a quicker passing game, which is where Jimmy Garoppolo thrives.
Yes.
Struggles throwing deep, but as long as he can dink and dunk, man, he is a very good quarterback. As long as he can keep him clean as well. And we'll get to the Broncos pass rushers against the San Francisco 49ers offensive line. But I think this is another situation where the familiarity that there is with the coaching staff, Evero, is going to come into play. They know what Jimmy Garoppolo can do with the quicker passing game. I think that we'll see small changes with how they approach coverage. Maybe still off, but I don't think that we see them 8 yards off as consistently. Keep it a little shorter, not let that quick throw really get in there, and just buy a little bit extra time for the Broncos pass rushers to apply pressure.
Yeah. Gary Leeds Palmer quickly here. Good evening, Lance, Eric, and Scott, taking off for Denver tomorrow. There you go, Gary. Hopefully you get the chance to meet up with everybody at the meet and greet. You won't be able to be there to meet you.
I think that's what he's doing. I think he's going to be there.
Well, Gary, I hope you have a safe trip, and hopefully you have fun at the meet and greet. And unfortunately, I won't be able to meet you there, but you stay safe.
He chose hunting over the meet and greet, everybody. Just so you know, hunting is more important.
I like feeding my family. The one thing you notice with Jimmy Garoppolo is he's all over the map. Like when he gets happy feet, he is everywhere. His footwork is super choppy. It's super fast. They don't do a great job of like when he doesn't have the protection to like stand in there and throw the ball. Like the happy feet makes him sail a lot of passes, which jumps into my second thing here. Ajiro Evero needs to be super creative with his coverage combinations because he needs to be great with his disguise because Jimmy G likes to lock onto that one read. When he decides where he's going to throw the football, he locks onto that. So if you can do late but fast rotational coverages, you can really take advantage of what Jimmy Garoppolo does when he does try to take those shots on the deep overs, the crossing routes and stuff like that. You can make him turn the football over. That's a big key to me here. Eric, on this
real quick, Michael Ronquillo says run the ball with Javonte Williams more in this offense. I get where you're coming from, Michael, but here's my thing for it. 15 to 20 touches a game is right where you want Javonte Williams right now. Yep. You don't want to overdo it early on in the season. As the season goes on, he's going to just get even better as defenses get more banged up, as they get more tired. And same thing is going to happen to him, but with his play style, as long as you keep him healthy and keep, not wearing him down early on in the season, you should be able to reap the rewards earlier. 15 to 20 touches for Javonte Williams, 10 to 15 for Melvin Gordon, and I think up to 5 for Mike Boone. That needs to be the split, and that seems to be what the coaching staff is suggesting, which is fine. Melvin Gordon isn't playing terrible. He's getting a lot of flack for that holding call, which honestly shouldn't have been a holding call since the defender put himself in the position of the hold, and technically you're not supposed to throw a flag when the defender does that in the rule according to the rule as written. So, but he's still running. Melvin Gordon, he's not as quick as he used to be. He still has enough left to take, and he's still been playing good football, enough to sit there and continuously get the 10 to 15 touches that he is. So I'm fine with it. As the season goes on, after week 8, I would like to see the numbers change a little bit and start getting up about 20 to 25 for Javonte Williams, keeping it at about 10 for Melvin Gordon, and still about 5 for Mike Boone. So just taking the 5 away from Gordon, putting him onto Williams. That's what I would like to see here. Yeah. As for the Broncos pass rushers, going through this real quick, the interior offensive line has done a good job in pass protection for the 49ers, but they haven't faced good interior pass rushers yet, really. The Bears don't really have someone who's really good at it. Neither does Seattle, and people can talk about Shelby Harris. Shelby Harris has dropped off over the last couple of years, last 2 years, last year and into this year. They don't really have somebody who's great at it. Seahawks had have two of the better run defenders in it. So this is a game where you can test the inside interior offensive line against these 49ers. And then Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey have both struggled a little bit in pass protection. Broncos have done well getting after the quarterback. I think that we'll see continued success in this game.
I do as well. And I think that it's going to be Draymond Jones having another big game going against Spencer Burford, the rookie right guard for the San Francisco 49ers offense. He's been hit and miss in pass pro, not necessarily the greatest in run blocking as well, but Draymond Jones is a guy to really watch out for this. And that interior push with Jimmy Garoppolo not being the most mobile guy is actually going to help these edge rushers out a little bit. I think Bradley Chubb's going to have another decent game, especially if he goes against Mike McGlinchey. McGlinchey doesn't do great with power. Like when you have a straight speed to power conversion edge rusher going against Mike McGlinchey, he does a really bad job of setting that anchor and gets walked backwards a lot. So to me, that's the matchup I'm really trying to watch out for. Let Randy Gregory go toe-to-toe with the athleticism of Trent Williams, because that's going to be some fireworks, guys. I'm right there with you. Eric, we got to move this real fast here. So you want to get another couple.
I wanted to
wrap this up real fast.
I wanted to grab this comment real quick. Heard this referee crew statistically throws more flags than any crew in the NFL. The crew is Sean Hockley, correct?
Yes, it is Sean Hockley.
Okay, so yeah, for this season, his crew have thrown 30 flags between 2 games, which among referees who've only had 2 games, that is the fourth most. Denver, I believe they had Cleet Blakeman for game 1, who has the most, and then Carl Sheffers, who has the third most. So Denver has not had luck with obviously penalties have been an issue. The officiating crews, they're consistently pretty high up there for them. Now the next group is the Broncos run defense versus the Niners running game. We kind of talked about this a little bit. I think DJ Jones is going to be a little bit of a difference maker here.
Yeah.
I still think that, as we saw in week 1, week 2, Deshaun Williams will be targeted by this running game because he is the weak link here. Getting Josie Jewell back, who should most likely be playing in this game. It was another situation where I think he could have played last week, but they wanted to give him an extra week. Will be a big help because Alex Singleton has had his issues in the run fill, has had some great plays, but has more issues against it. So that should help, but this is still a run game. Denver has lapses. Despite those lapses, they still rank it like 6th overall in run defense DVOA. And whereas the 49ers rank fairly high in their rushing offense DVOA as well. So it's going to be 2 strengths. So number 8 in run defense along the 5th fewest yards versus an offense that ranks number 4, but they are 19th in DVOA. So they are not doing as well as they should be in the running game, despite getting all the yards, which that's something that's noticeable. So if they make those mistakes as they have, Denver should be in a position. I still give the advantage a little bit to San Francisco in this one, though.
Me too. It's just the historical precedent that we've seen with the 49ers in their running game. Their commitment to sticking with the run is a big thing. Broncos coverage versus the 49ers passing game. The one player I'm going to watch out for here just quickly is not Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is a great player, and they do a lot of creative things to get the football in his hands. It's Brandon Ayuk. This dude has stepped up in a major way. He's actually the leading receiver on this team in terms of catches and yards, and he continues to make explosive plays. Coming out of Arizona State, that was the one thing that everybody wondered was, is he going to be a quality route runner? Like, you just got to get the ball in his hands and let him just use that athleticism. It's actually translating to what we're seeing on tape right now. Ayuk is the player to watch in this passing game, and that's not getting into George Kittle either. Ayuk is the guy to watch. Quick direction, guys, against Surtain. Whew, here we go.
This is a game where Kareem Jackson having lost a step in coverage is a concern, and it is also a concern with not having Justin Simmons. I would still play your corners a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, help keep that quicker passing game shut down a little bit, buy extra time for those pass rushers. Ejiro Evero, again, he has familiarity there. He was the 49ers passing coverage, secondary, and passing game defensive coordinator last year. So I think he has an advantage. It's pretty standard stuff that Kyle Shanahan likes to throw with the passing game. So should be an advantage, and Denver should be able to use that to it. It's whether they can go out there and execute. And through 2 games of this so far this season, Denver on defense has done a good job executing. It's just covering up those little lapses, and some of the penalty issues have been a concern as well. And the final point is the coaching staff. Until this is for me, I said this last week for my matchup article for the Texans, until Nathaniel Hackett shows that he can actually be a capable head coach, it will always be the opponent's head coach has the advantage for it. Always. Because Nathaniel Hackett, he had the worst 7 minutes of coaching that I ever saw to close out the Seattle game. And now there still are consistent issues getting plays called in on time. Until those are fixed, he will continue to be a concern for me.
I'm right there with you. And guys, we have Caven in here, so I do apologize for that. But yes, Nathaniel Hackett and the decision-making that he's shown, not only the Seattle Seahawks game, being late with his decision-making against the Houston Texans a couple different times, not being sure whether to kick the field goal, go for the punt, or, go for it on 4th down. Like, there's a bunch of different issues that you have with Nathaniel Hackett. To me, that is the big critical issue here. Kyle Shanahan does a great job of being aggressive with his decision-making, but he's fast with it. He knows what he wants to do. Nathaniel Hackett still has to figure that out with his play calling duties and understand being the head coach is the more important thing than being the offensive coordinator of this team. Let Justin Alton do his job. Be the head coach.
Go ahead and finish your thought. I thought you were done.
All right, you're okay. I've got Samantha coming this way, so it's all good. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that we just got better analysis from Caven than we ever got from you. But anyways, guys, we do got to wrap it up. There's a couple announcements and everything like this. Before we get into that, overall, I know Lance has Denver losing this game. I have Denver winning it. I think that the issues Denver has shown are not exactly execution. I think it is more coaching and shooting yourself in the foot kind of things. And I think that's easier to correct than the execution issues the 49ers have been having a little bit. Being at home, being in prime time, I think this is a wake-up call. And I do think partially the Broncos were kind of overlooking their first two opponents a little bit, I think it was like, these are two games that we should be able to walk away with the win, that we should, and they kind of overlooked it. We know for a fact they were with the Texans because as the week leading up to it, Nathaniel Hackett's talking about how the coaching staff's preparing for the Houston Texans already because it's a short week. Should never do that. And also, finally, reason why Denver's going to win this game, and I said at the start of the show, I'm going to be there. I'm just a good luck charm. Whereas Nick is a bad luck charm, I'm a good luck charm. Like, that's it. That's all the analysis we need. We could have stopped the show after 5 minutes. We can switch to saying Denver will win because I'll be there.
Yeah. Disagree there. Couple points there. But
it's okay. I'm used to you being wrong.
I'm always wrong. Everybody knows this, guys. No, I do have the Broncos losing this game. The Mile High Huddle predictions page is up on milehighhuddle.com. I have the Broncos losing this game 27-20. In fact, I know that the private chat is off limits here, but I did put in there, I believe it's Monday, that if I had the money to put it down, like a $20 bet on the alternate line of San Francisco minus 6.5, that means that the 49ers are going to win by a touchdown. I would put a $20 bet on that. That's how confident that I am in this opinion. I don't think that the Broncos match up necessarily very well up front, both offensively and defensively. The coaching issues are a big problem to me. And I think that there's still some kinks that this team has to work through. And despite Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter, I think that actually makes the San Francisco 49ers a more scary team because you know what you're going to get with him.
He's a little more consistent than Trey Lance is, which is what's scary about it. Trey Lance definitely has that higher ceiling, and you know that you can hit that deep ball with him potentially.
Yep.
But yeah, he's looked rather skittish the first 2 weeks. Throwing out the Chicago game a little bit because of how rainy it was.
Yeah.
But starting off that Seattle game, like there were issues there.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, we got to get Erick out of here. Erick, if you want to dip out of here, I know you got some stuff going on. You got to get ready to go to the airport and everything. I'm going to shut this thing down. Any last words from you, Erick, before I run the matters of business?
Yes. I was expecting you to run the matters of business real quick, so I could get the screen share going for it.
Okay,
just about the meet and greet, guys. The information is here on screen. It's going to be Sunday, obviously, from 3 to 6. It's going to be in Lot D for tailgating. It's going to be the southwest side of the stadium. And you guys look for the Mile High Huddle tent. And you guys can come meet with us, hang out and chat and talk and find out even more about why Lance Sanderson's takes are terrible. And I can tell you all about the takes that don't even get aired that are really bad of him. Because we're not supposed to talk about our group chat here. That's one of the rules. You don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about our group chat. And Cal coming in saying attack the MHS crew, assert dominance. Cal, no, we kind of like the guys over at MHS, and we've got some work there along with them with Chad and Zach's radio show on the Mile High Sports Radio Network. So definitely it'd be great to meet them if they're there, but if we're able to, but attacking them, no, I'll keep attacking some of them in, elsewhere. If you catch my trick.
I want to see a Twitter live feed of you guys doing the Anchorman fight off, where like you've got like Zach with a trident and Chad all of a sudden has like they're fighting swords and whatnot, and then you just stand there with a grenade. I'm here for this, so please reenact that.
I'm not a violent person. I don't really care for violence. All my life, I've tried to avoid physical fighting.
This is fair. This is why you do.
You should know that. You should know. My attacks come with words.
Yeah, that's literally all he does, guys. We don't talk about the group chat, but that's all Erick does is attack me and Nick. Okay. All right, guys. With that, though, Erick, you have a safe trip, a wonderful time down there in Denver. I wish I could be there with you guys. guys, just quickly here, follow us on Twitter, please. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Follow us on Twitter. Find me at Sanderson MHH for Eric, at Erick Trickel. Also, guys, at Mile High Huddle, some other account, breaking news analysis regarding all of your Denver Broncos news, film breakdowns, opinion articles. I'm going to hammer out some stuff about this 49ers matchup here in just a few minutes. But with that, guys, you all stay safe, take care, have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Broncos. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week.
Gotta go kill Bambi.